Hello, welcome to the first edition of our brand new podcast, 8bit Bourbon. I don't know how you found us, but I'm sure glad you did. Grab yourself a glass, pour a little bourbon, and come hang out with us. I'm Adam Bader, and with me is Andy Polidor. What are we talking about this week?
Well, Adam, this week, first of all, we're drinking Maker's Mark Bourbon, which is fitting because it's our go-to.
Gotta love Makers.
And this is called 8-bit Bourbon. On this week's episode, we're all about new consoles. Outside of that, we're going to talk about my favorite game of the year, and we're going to also touch on PS3 and Xbox 360, which we've either sold or are sitting in our basement right now.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I don't think I have a favorite game of the year. Honestly, don't.
Well,
I've been such a bad gamer this year. Like, I'm happy that you have one. I don't have one.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because mine is in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we're going to get into why that is, but this has probably been the least gaming year of our lives, which is funny because this is the year that we decided to start a podcast.
I know, right? So, we're terrible gamers now, but let's do a video.
Yeah,
game
let's
podcast.
tell everybody about gaming. But yeah, let's pump the brakes on that for a second. First of all, who are we? Why are we doing this? And what is the purpose of this podcast? We're basically just two average fans of gaming. We like talking tech. We like talking gaming, whether it's email or just sitting around like any other fan. I think we like to think we bring a little bit of a unique perspective based of, all these professional podcasts. It's guys that live and breathe in the industry.
Absolutely. And I can't speak for you, but for me, like at my job, I'm a huge podcast
You're
fan.
definitely a bigger podcast fan than me.
Probably 4 or 5 hours a day. It's all podcast. And you have
mostly tech ones, right?
And like you get into them and you want to say something and maybe your voice will never get heard. We want to change that. We want you guys to come through us, Yeah. It sounds kind of weird, but you know what I'm saying? Like you guys are as much part of the show as we are. You may not be talking, but we want to talk video games, tech, sports, anything with you guys. Anything you want. We're that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and I think we even talked we were should we have a tagline coming in? Should we, when we were preparing for the show and we kind of decided we're definitely going to be talking about gaming. I think, 8-bit bourbon, that's obviously a main theme. And we want to...
And bourbon.
And bourbon. But we didn't want to pinpoint it yet as far as any sort of intro because we don't know where this is going to go. And like you said, if there's fans that want to hear something, we want to cater to them. And, we just want to, as a community, we hope that we can have a less, professional type industry view because I think we both know... If you work for one of the big video game coverage, news media, you feel the need to talk about things that are boring, stories that we don't care about.
Exactly.
We don't have to do that.
How do you review a game that when you review it, the advertisement is on the same page as your
that's also true.
That?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure.
They say there's no money hats, and I believe that.
Yeah, I
don't believe any reviewer's ever been paid for.
Absolutely not.
But there
I
has
don't know about ever, but I agree for the most part.
There has to be something that comes down and from their boss and be like, listen, maybe take it a little easy.
Right.
Like EA just dumped a crazy amount of money for Battlefield 4.
Because we know
Battlefield 4 is broken.
Yeah, and
broken.
That is true. And that's going to be a future podcast because that's something we both suffered through. But
it seemed to get decent, solid, like...
Yeah, and that's
and
another...
the advertisements are everywhere.
That's a topic that bothers me too, is that to review, and I understand there's pressure in the gaming industry to get reviews out quickly, but to review a game that you've played on a local area network and said the multiplayer is great, that's not fair. Does it work? And that's something that we found out is not the case there. But so all that said, we don't want to have to talk about, we're not going to review Knack because we don't want to play it.
I'm never. What the hell's Knack?
Exactly.
I'm not playing Knack.
Exactly. We don't want to talk about boring,
if you want to talk Flower, I played back in the
I know you
days,
don't like
I played Flower, and I was like, wow, I'm flying around as a piece of flour.
I saw it got a 9 or
care.
9.5 on some thing. I think it's very artsy and very cool. But I wouldn't give it that kind of review, but I did enjoy it.
If we got a subscriber out there that says, you know what, need to give Flower a chance. You know what, I'll go back, try it again.
Yeah.
We could talk about it.
Yeah. No. And I guess the point we're making is, we want to talk about what we want to talk about. We want to talk about what people want to hear. And that's kind of what we're looking for. And I think that we were talking about this the other day, as adults or as close to adults as we are, but, working late 20s people with less and less free time. Our interests, our priorities, they change. And we kind of want to talk about our evolving relationship with gaming and all things nerdy, because it's not just that we have less time. It's actually changed the way I think that we look at it.
Exactly. Like, I'm hoping there's other people out there that, like, I feel like ever since Call of Duty came out, I lost all love for any single player game. I can't play them anymore. I love video games. I love video games.
We're both
live and breathe
disgraced by the fact that we haven't played Last of Us this year. And the reason is both of us is kind of funny. And I was living in New York for 5 years, and we lived away from each other, and both of us kind of had the same thing happen to us, where we stopped sitting down and playing video games for, single player games for enjoyment and to get lost in the world. And that's kind of sad in a way. And I'm not really sure, I can't pinpoint why that is.
Yeah, I feel like the most I've played Rise is when I have people come over to my house and be like, oh, you got to check this out.
Exactly.
And then I don't, I'll be sitting in front of my TV. I'll be like, Xbox, watch TV. And I'll be like, I could probably play a little Rise right now. And then I'm like, I'm probably not going to play a little bit.
I do the same thing.
I like it too. I really enjoy it. But then I'll end up texting you. I'll end up texting another friend and be like, hey, you want to play a little Broken Battlefield 4?
We'd rather play a worse multiplayer game than a single player game.
Why is that? There's got to be other people out there like that.
Yeah. And I think part of it is when you get older, and like my family's moved different places, and you don't. And part of what's cool about it for us is that we can kind of hang out digitally, and that's definitely a big part of it. And I think number two, for me speaking personally, I think you feel the same way. You're more of a Call of Duty guy, more of a Halo guy as far as first-person shooters, but it's the competition. There's no competition in a single-player game, and I feel like when I sit down, instead of relaxing, I want to get the adrenaline pumping.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not really sure why that is, because that never was the way when I was a kid. Like, God, we played Mario a billion times, And
it sounds corny to say, like, I honestly enjoy, like, the shared moments, the shared, like, come back from like 10 kills down, the win by 1 victories, than say I'm playing like, I don't know, like Uncharted and I beat a cool level.
Absolutely.
Like by myself, like who am I going to
tell? That's what I laugh when I see those Xbox commercials or the PS4 commercials where people are recording and sharing single player moments. It's like,
I just don't care.
Right. I mean, I'll go to YouTube if I want to see that.
Seriously.
But what's cool is, when you get that triple kill and you throw the grenade into the room and get the other guy. But, I think with multiplayer games, it's those water cooler moments, and I think I fell in love a long time ago when I started to turn into the competitive kind of gamer was the original StarCraft. It had so many water cooler moments. I remember setting up. My brother had a birthday party. I was probably, I don't even know, 14 years old or something, 16, and we ran
the infamous LAN party.
Yeah,
right?
we ran 100-foot LAN cables from upstairs through the chandelier, and we had like 2 rooms of like 8. I think it was like 8-person teams in 2 rooms, and we sat there and we played 8-on-8, whatever, or we split it up a bunch of different ways. But the point was, when you get done with one of those games, it's holy crap, did you see when I did this and then you did that, and it's those kind of moments. It's never, like you said, it's not, wow, I beat that boss and that was cool. And once again, that's sad, because I think we used to feel that way. I think we used to.
I mean, absolutely.
And I have to say that I hope to get back into that. Mode at some point.
I always feel like I'm older, and like as we're older, these just idiots that we play with online. Like I don't even play if I'm not in a party. Yeah. I'm not talking to any. I'm just not talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure some of you are great, but majority, you guys know who.
And it's like almost like really exciting when you meet someone that's like normal, and because it's just not the norm. And like really cool people. It's almost like Facebook. Really, people that you like in real life, you hate online. Yeah. And it's a very bizarre thing. I guess it's that being anonymous that brings out the worst in people. But I mean, that could be an entire podcast of itself.
Oh yeah.
But I think that this year, there's 2 things that really brought us back. And one of them was I had my Wii. I had barely played the thing. I played, I think, Super Mario Galaxy I beat, which I enjoyed, but, nothing like life-changing for me.
Yeah.
And then I played Zelda. Which one was it?
Twilight Princess.
Twilight Princess.
The only game I ever played. I bought a Wii specifically for Twilight Princess. Beat it, and I was like, eh.
Yeah, and that's...
We'll talk more.
We got some Zelda on tap.
I have some Zelda for you later on.
But what I was going to say was what I brought my Wii over here to your apartment, and we hooked it up, and we started doing something we hadn't done in a long time, and this brings us back to the LAN party, was we sat around, we got 4 GameCube controllers from me and another friend, and we would play 2-on-2 we incorporate drinking games. We would make it our Saturday nights. We'd pregame with Smash Brothers to go to the bar, and we'd end up just playing Smash Brothers till 2 a.m. And that reignited the spark for me with gaming. And maybe not single player gaming, but this year, both of us, we barely play games at all. We had NHL 13, and we played that a lot. And that was it, really.
Well, one thing you listeners will learn from me is over time is I'm a huge Batman fan. I love Batman. I live and breathe Batman.
He's a Batman freak. There's a Batman statue behind me right now.
Yeah, there's Batman comics there. I'm wearing a Batman T-shirt.
It's all true, by the way.
Kind of weird. But I bought Batman Arkham Origins, and I played maybe 3 hours of it.
Yeah, and this is a Batman freak.
I just don't care. The game was subpar to begin with. It wasn't made by Rocksteady. They had another developer on. I think it was like WB.
But the point was, you could buy a Batman game that was a 6 out of 10, and you would play it through maybe twice.
You said the statue. I have an Arkham Asylum, or I think it's Arkham City statue behind you. I bought Arkham City twice. Once because I thought I'll just buy the regular edition, and then I read Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, and then I saw on it may have been $150, $100, whatever edition of Arkham City, they had the Frank Miller costume, and I could have waited 2 months to buy the 99-cent edition, but I didn't. I went back out and I bought the same thing again, just for one costume.
Yep, this is true story.
The third installment, I just didn't care.
Yeah, and it's not like your love of Batman.
No, it's not. And they had Barbara Gordon in there. I was excited for that. She was walking around. She wasn't the Oracle like in the other ones, and I just stopped
I don't know what any of that means.
Yeah,
but
I just stopped playing. I'm sure there's listeners out there that do.
Oh, I'm sure there are. And I think there's a part of us too. That how do I put this? I think it's something in our society. It's you have your phone in your hand every 5 seconds. You're always connected. You're getting texts at all times. You're getting emails at all times. And I think it's hard to get yourself lost in a game world. And I think that's part of it too. It's not just that we're older and we have less free time. I think it's that it's harder to sit down. Is it
almost that we have a little more like time management? We're more time management.
It could be.
We work.
I think there's almost like a little ADD though. Like I can't put these I'd like to put headphones on. This is a big part. The games that I've enjoyed single player in the last 5 years, which is very few, I would put headphones on and really get your phone on the charger and concentrate, because otherwise if you're looking at your phone every 5 seconds,
that's never gonna happen with my phone.
You're fidgeting right now, but
my hands are sweating because I'm not fidgeting right now. There should be a glow stick or a spinning wheel on my mic.
No, but it's for real though. I think that's part of it though. It's a little bit of ADD where we were kids. There was a night where we stayed up till 6 a.m. playing Killer Instinct and I learned Final Fantasy X, and we weren't checking our phones. We weren't caring about what was going on. We were just enthralled. It was just deep in the game, and I think it's just a general societal change, and it's definitely harder. And maybe I'm trying to blame our shortcomings on everybody, but
blame everybody.
But I do think that's part of it, right? I think it's if you could sit down and not think of anything else and get lost in that game world. When I was a kid, if Skyrim came out, that would have blew my mind. I would have been exploring those caves for years.
You wouldn't have seen me.
And then I played it, I liked it, but I wasn't obsessed, and I think a lot of people were obsessed.
So bad, I played over 250
hours
in that game.
Yeah, that was probably the last big single player game you were obsessed with.
Never played a single the main story mission. I don't even know how the game. Who puts 250 hours into a game and then never finish? I just stopped playing.
You did the right thing though. That's what that game's all about.
But I made the fatal mistake of, because for a long time I was a big Call of Duty fan. I stopped at Black Ops 2. It's just more of the same. I wanted to get out, so I left. So I always bought a PS3 for the Sony exclusives, and if I wanted to enjoy single player, that's where I'd go. So my friends couldn't bother me. And I made the fatal mistake of buying Skyrim on PS3, and it just had so many problems that after a while I was just I'm done. And I feel like I got a good amount of the game. I mean, 250 hours.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But it was one of my favorite games of all time, and I don't know how it ends.
Right,
I don't know anything about it.
You probably forgot where to even continue the story because you were so far.
I know you got to do something on top of a mountain and find a school maybe.
Yeah,
that's it.
I'm looking forward to the Elder Scrolls Online game, because I don't know if I'll actually play it, but I have high hopes for it because it kind of combines that adventure with a social aspect. Yeah. We can do things together. We can talk about our day and go kill things.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So I guess we're getting a little off the rails here.
Are there any games coming out for us for our new generations? our
Well,
next gen consoles?
I mean,
Do we have anything coming out?
the thing we're looking forward to the most, both of us, it comes back to Call of Duty, which is the original team.
Yeah, Titanfall.
Titanfall is what they're making. And I've never, I was saying this to you, I think a couple weeks ago, I haven't seen a game as universally praised.
Yeah.
By like,
Everybody,
IGN and GameSpot,
all
the big
podcasts I live.
I haven't heard a negative word about it, and what I really love about it is, what I was gonna say is since Halo 1, when that was like people were so amazed how polished and new it was. What's amazing is that what they do is in the new games, you can, everyone knows Hollywood. You see these trailers for movies; they're awesome. It's almost, you almost feel that they put more money into the trailers than they do the movie sometimes. But what I love about Titanfall is they say, "Here, play the game."
Yeah.
You go to a game show. They don't just show 6 hours of clips. They say, "Here, go ahead and play." And that's what's amazing. In fact, they've played the game more hours than like I've seen trailers, which is a crazy thing. I was watching something today. It was like the 8 things we're looking forward to on some game site, and it was really cool because it was like things that I had never seen before. I didn't even know existed because the game doesn't advertise itself by like, look how we can do the perfect situation where like the computer's in charge.
Are you still talking inside of Titanfall?
Yeah.
All right, I got one for you. I was listening to I was running out of newer podcasts to listen, so I went back. I think it was if there's any fans out there, I'm sure we share the same common interest. But Rebel FM, Anthony Gallegos, Arthur Geese, Matt Chandernay, Mitch Dyer, some of my favorite guys to listen to podcasting. They were talking about the demo they got to play. I don't know if it was Gamescom or PAX East, but they were playing Titanfall. And I'm not sure how you get your Titan. I don't know if it's like a kill streak or whatever.
I believe it's something to that effect where you get points for your kill streaks or whatever.
They were saying there was a point in the game where they fell and they were going to die. And you're able to call your Titanfall and it catches you out of midair.
That is awesome.
All I'm thinking is like Tony Stark, Iron Man. Like you're going to die. Or say you're falling and somebody's shooting at you. And you immediately get brought into that thing.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Can you imagine landing in front of 5 human players and you land inside your Titan?
And that's exactly what we're talking about. Those water cooler moments.
Everybody.
That is an Xbox record that moment. And that's.
Whether that makes the final game, I don't know, but that's what they said. I've never seen it on a demo.
And that was what's cool. I was watching this video today, and like these guys, they have had such a hands-on experience with it because they're so confident about the game that I hadn't even seen, and maybe this is me slacking in my gaming reading, but I hadn't even seen like. The smart pistol used where you can jump, and if you hover over 3 guys for long enough, it's kind of
I've never seen
a lot of games.
I've only
like
seen
Max
2
Payne,
guns
whatever.
ever used in that game.
Yeah, and you'll auto shoot them in the head.
It looks like an M4 kind of thing, and then that big ass rocket launcher.
Because I was a little worried when you see the initial gameplay trailer. It's so cool. First of all, I love the jumping up walls, and that's something that I'd like to talk about someday when we talk Halo versus Call of Duty, because I have some comments about that. But it looked a little too perfectly. What's the word I'm looking for? Like scripted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where
I
was a little bit worried about that.
See like if you have to look for certain objects that like tell you, I want to be able to do whatever I want to do.
But that's
I don't want billboards. I don't want like little stairways or something.
Exactly.
That will ruin it for me. I'll never do it.
But then the guy gets ejected from the Titanfall because he's about to die.
Are
and
they
he lands
called,
on another.
Are they called
Titan? I'm sorry.
No,
Titan.
I don't know how it is. Are they called?
Because they say prepare for Titanfall. Titanfall means Titan's coming. Yeah. But what I was gonna say was, then the guy ejects from the Titan, and he lands on another Titan, and he rips the thing out and like shoots the guy or something. And I was like, okay, that is really awesome. But I was worried it was one of those scripted things where like you see like the perfect video. So many video games, they have these amazing trailers, but then you read the reviews and like it's almost better than the scripted gameplay. These guys are saying, not reviews, you know what I mean, previews, and the guys are saying like the first 5 seconds I wall jumped up something, and I can't remember today. It was just like this amazing story about a Titan, and this is like this idea of like battling inside the buildings and in the streets where the Titans are, and it's almost like large scale and small scale, and it looks like we'll be right at home because it's almost it's almost a combo of Halo and Call of Duty where it's
perfect for us, right? No single player.
I
Whatsoever.
love that.
There's no single player.
I love that because this is getting back to us not playing single player, but if you play a game like Halo, and I know a lot of people are in love with the Halo single player. I thought Halo 1 single player was awesome. Yeah. That was the last one I really enjoyed. Two was okay.
I didn't mind 2.
And I played Halo 4 actually, which is a new spin on it, but I find Halo single player a little repetitive. A lot of the locales look the same. Yeah. This is all excluding Halo 1 because I loved Halo 1, but the point is, Call of Duty games especially, and Battlefield 4, they throw in these 8-hour, dog shit single player missions where they're super scripted, and Titanfall is like, you know what? We're not going to waste our resources, our resources and our time on the single player when this is a multiplayer game. Because you play Call of Duty. You played Call of Duty. You played.
Yeah.
Let's say you beat the single player, which you didn't.
The last single player I ever played in Call of Duty was Modern Warfare 2.
Right.
And I spent $60 a year playing.
And you
for
played
nothing.
and you played $8 or probably 8 hours of it, and then you played 100 hours of multiplayer.
No,
So
I played 0 hours of anything besides Modern Warfare 2. Yeah.
Right, but but my point was, and then you see
if it was even 8 hours,
and you see these reviews
less.
where it's like they're single player stunk, multiplayer is amazing, 8.5, and it's like we're not buying it for the single player, So and it's unfair because a game like Last of Us. I don't know. Last of Us might have a multiplayer.
I think it does.
But you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Games that have a very good single player.
Oh, like Uncharted, perfect.
Uncharted, no multiplayer.
Garbage.
And right, or like really bad
bad.
Right,
it's
yeah.
like
I never
it's
logged
horrible.
on. Yeah, it's just like a toss in. But you know what? It still gets a 9.5.
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So why should the single if it's an amazing multiplayer game,
you
the
bring
single
up a good
player
point.
shouldn't matter. Yeah.
Because the new Call of Duty, a lot of people were ragging on it. Like I've seen decent reviews, but some people that hated it. It was like single player's 4 hours long. That's great. But how many hours are you gonna play multiplayer?
Yeah,
you bring up the perfect point. Like, why can't games get reviewed for bad multiplayer? It's like Dead Space. Dead Space 2 was one. Everybody was so mad that they put in a multiplayer. Everybody hated it. That game got like 9.5s, all over the boards.
And we're fine with that.
Yeah.
But we don't think that a multiplayer game that's amazing should get worse reviews because the single player game isn't great. Like if you're buying, if you're buying a certain section of games for their single player, you're making a mistake. You should know better.
Like if go back to Uncharted. If Uncharted had the best multiplayer ever, but the single player sucked, I would be like, this game is terrible.
Yeah.
Like you play Uncharted for the single player.
Yeah, exactly. Just like you play Halo and Call of Duty for the multiplayer. If it was the best multiplayer ever,
more split than Call of Duty.
Probably, yeah. There's books on Halo and people are really invested in the world. But I think from what I hear, and once again, I can't back this up because I never read anything, but I feel like the books expand the world better than the games do in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
But back to what you said, if Uncharted had the best multiplayer ever, I think you'd be fine with it.
Yeah, but
I know what you're saying, though.
Say the best multiplayer ever came after two
right, but people are
expecting
the story. That's what they want.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're very off the rails here.
But this is the way our podcast is going to go, especially when we get you guys involved.
Yeah, we don't want to have strict time limits.
This is what we want. We want you guys to help us have conversations. We want you guys to be part of it.
And we apologize for any rustling of ice cubes, but this is called 8-bit Bourbon. And actually, Adam got a wonderful gift from Makers. Speaking of our bourbon of the day,
absolutely did.
He got we're going to post this on our Twitter site. 8-bit Bourbon, by the way, is the handle. Yes. He got a Maker's Mark Santa hat that goes on top of all of his bourbon bottles, and I think it's fantastic.
Picture like a little didn't people used to wear these things as like night caps?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the guy with the curly candle holder, walking through the house. Absolutely.
Just think Dumbledore.
Yeah, or it actually looks more like a wizard's hat, which is great for the topics of this.
Imagine if Dumbledore
podcast.
had snowflakes and Maker's Marks bottles on his head. That's pretty much. And then you get
be sure to check this out on our Twitter. Once again, it's 8-bit Bourbon.
Yeah. Let's get some the video games. November 15th, big day. Big day.
Yep.
Probably the biggest. I would say console release ever. Well, actually not ever, but in America, North America.
It was a
million units out there.
It was a huge launch. I think a lot of that had to do it was well priced for the time.
Can we go out there and say officially that the whole broken console things is not a story?
It's very silly. People,
and if you're one of those people that are like, "Oh, your PS4 is terrible because some of them broke," or your Xbox One's terrible because some of the hard drives don't work, stop.
Right, exactly.
Go out and enjoy those consoles.
Exactly, and it's sad because there was someone who was writing about it was basically the Amazon reviews. So many of the negative PS4 reviews and Xbox One reviews were unverified reviewers, meaning that they didn't buy a console off of Amazon, which probably means that it was some PS4 fanboy reviewing an Xbox One or an Xbox One fanboy reviewing a PS4 console and saying mine got broken, and it made it look like the story was way bigger than it was.
I think me and you came to the same opinion when they first originally announced the Xbox One, that it was not the Xbox community bashing all the ideas that the Xbox One had.
Absolutely.
We think it had to have been the Sony people.
I think so. Absolutely, because
I was really looking forward to Always On. always online.
Yeah, we were both excited about the future, and maybe it's because we're making money now. We don't mind as much about getting the $20 or $30 back when we sell our games. We would rather have digital games that offer us more features, I guess.
Absolutely.
But let's get into the PS4 launch. We could talk about the
initial
the
thoughts.
changes. Yeah,
I
got a PS4.
I did not get one.
I got one. I brought it over here night one. Yeah, but it's a lot to spend the holiday season, especially there's no must-have games on either console.
We got
right
girlfriends.
Now. Yeah.
You think like $900?
It's a lot.
3 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah, it happened. I don't want to talk. Honestly, this is depressing me a little bit talking about it. But
plus, I do kind of want a PS Vita. I have a PSP Go. I love it and never play it. But at the time when I did get it, I love it. And I said I was going to wait, see if they got a bundle. Sure enough, there's a bundle coming. I don't exactly know when it's coming.
If you get either console before Xbox One, before Titanfall comes out, certainly, and then the Destiny beta launches, I don't remember, February or March, though the fact that it's launching in September makes me think that's going to get delayed, possibly.
Little pro tip. If you
this is good stuff.
To play Destiny beta, you go to Amazon.com, pre-order. It doesn't cost you any money, and they send you a code immediately, or the instructions, and I think it's a code.
No, I think they send you the code
immediately for the beta, and then you just cancel your pre-order.
Yeah, because the thing is, it's not that we don't want the game, because I actually haven't canceled mine yet, but I want the digital one because I like to live switch. Yeah. I don't like to get up off my seat. I like to go to a.
I've gone 100% digital. You haven't decided?
No, I have.
Are you going to go?
Well, here's my thought. If the only way that I won't go digital is if I'm going to get a game like, let's say, I'm trying to think of an example, but let's just say there's an awesome, there's length of single player on it, by the way, isn't everything to me. If there's a dynamite 12-hour single player game, to me that's worth $60. But my point is, if there's one of those, and I don't replay games that are single player years from now, I just don't do it. So I might consider getting that physical and then just reselling it. But the most games I've ever resold ever in the last few weeks, because I felt so guilty about spending $1,000 in the 2 new consoles. Yeah, because really we got to add tax into that. I think it was $440 and $560.
$50 in tax for the Xbox.
Yeah, and then you got to get a game. But yeah, so my PS4 arrived November 15th. I didn't camp out because I just pre-ordered it, and it just arrived at my house.
I camped out for 360.
Oh yes, I have never camped out for anything.
I was 13 of 14.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like 30 people.
There's a bonus.
Amazon. If you guys have a chance for next console, say you didn't get one, but if there's a next one, because I might be dead before the next whatever comes out.
Absolutely.
We're talking about bourbon on a podcast. You never know what could happen. But if just go out there when they announce them and pre-order it on Amazon.
Doesn't cost you a thing. They don't charge you until the day that it ships.
I pre-ordered mine maybe 20 minutes after the
me too.
E3 announcement, and I never worried about it. And I got mine guaranteed day one.
Yep, and you don't even have to have Prime. If you get the day one edition, they ship it day one. So
it's amazing.
Or any of the game sites, but especially Amazon, because I'm not sure about the other sites, but Amazon does not charge you until they ship it. So if you decide, I don't know if I'm going to have money November.
I think I got charged like Wednesday when it finally shipped.
Right. So the point is if you order it in June and you say, well, I don't know if I'm going to have $500 when November 15th, 2014 comes out. Well, you cancel it and it's not a big deal. And let's be serious.
That's 5 months you can save.
And let's be serious too. If it arrives, any new console, you could probably just put it up on eBay and actually make money. So make sure.
Are they still making money off those things?
I don't know about anymore.
We had a friend that bought a PS4
just to sell it. Yeah.
And he made about $120.
Yeah.
Is that worth it to you? Because we have another friend that I said, that's not really worth it to me.
No, it's not to me. They're stressed to it.
Yeah,
you're losing some of your money just because you have to ship it on eBay and let's just say that Sony comes through or Microsoft comes through and over delivers. All of a sudden, it's worth nothing. Not nothing. But now you're scrambling to get your money back. No, it's as an investment. And if you know it's going to be super short and you buy 10 of them, God bless you. But to buy one, I don't know.
All right, let's get back to our PS4.
Yes, so I bought the PS4. It arrived November 15th. I opened it up. I had some problems getting on the network. The worst part was actually logging into my account, which is unfortunate, and then downloading the game actually wasn't that bad.
That's what I heard. I heard it wasn't the fact that the store was down.
It was logging in.
Yeah, it was, and then
I got mine at 6 p.m. So
I don't know. I honestly don't know enough. I don't know if you could play multiplayer games. I didn't really see anything about that. I knew the store was working.
Well, if you remember, we were downloading Killzone, and we were downloading it because I brought it over to Adams so that we could play it together. And we started downloading the game. And you can on PS4, which is great. You can obviously on both systems you can start playing before the game's done, but with Killzone on PS4, and I haven't seen this on an Xbox game, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can actually tell it to download the multiplayer portion first.
Because I was about to say to you, I wish in this generation they would say, can you do this, can you do that?
Yeah, because PS4 you
but
can.
apparently you can.
We can, because remember, because what happened was...
You think it's just certain games?
I'm not sure if it's universal, but when we were playing on Killzone, it was great because we were like, when can we play multiplayer? Like, you can't play multiplayer with 10% of the game. That wouldn't make any sense.
I feel like this whole podcast is all about multiplayer.
Yeah, I know.
Because that's what bummed us out. We were trying to download Battlefield when first we got our Xbox Ones and couldn't do it. You had to wait till 100% to get to multiplayer.
Right. And that makes sense to an extent because you need to download a lot more data. You can't just load level 1.
There's also that huge bug because we were sitting around having some drinks, played about an hour and a half between 3 people. Battlefield 4 single player. Then
just for it to reset.
Then you log back on and it's gone.
And that's one of the big problems with the cloud. I'd like to save my...
cloud?
I think it is.
Are all Xbox saves?
I believe
cloud?
they are.
Okay.
I like to have things on the disc because of that. Eventually that will get cleaned up. It's kind of like worrying about buying things online. I mean, eventually things get fixed. But
every year, I think it's been the last 2 years, EA has been voted the worst company in America. And I'm like, are they really worse than
they're
Philip
not.
Morris and
you know what it is?
drug companies? And I'm like, kind of maybe they
you know
are.
What it is? They're not
after my Battlefield experience.
They're sure, they're no Enron or something. Yeah. But what they are is for such a big company, they just don't care about the fans. They are money grubbing and they're a very frustrating company. And of course we continue to support them because we like some of their games. But NHL 13, you buy a $60 NHL 14, it is the same game. We were happy to buy it because we have an online league. But they added fighting, and that was literally. I mean, that is pretty much it. They changed the fighting.
He bought FIFA 14 on PS or Xbox One. Sorry. And he had network issues. You don't see a lot about that online, but we have a couple friends with FIFA 14. They have there's definitely
and that's
problems.
Another odd thing about
he's had times where it's just been days where he cannot finish a match.
Yeah, and that's another odd thing about
just say Xbox on because my Xbox just turned on.
Whoa, that was weird.
The TV's gonna.
Well,
it might just be loud. No, the TV's not going to work.
All right. Let's see if this works live. Here we go.
Here we go. On?
Here we go. This is a live test. Xbox, turn off. Yes. Booyah.
Definitely just
First
worked.
try.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back to our PS4.
Let's get back to the PS4.
You wrote a review.
I did.
We're going to skip initial impressions. We'll talk about my impressions. I only had maybe 5-6 hours about it. Tell us a little about your review. Where can we find your review?
Well, let's just say, first of all, I had never written anything like that. Like, not any, maybe on a forum and write, one paragraph. But I really tried to do a detailed review. And I wrote it on medium.com, which is kind of like a blog where you get into communities and you can get people that, basically are interested in video games and go to the video game community. They can find my review of the PS4. And I posted it
Can I tell you a little
several
secret?
places. Yeah, go ahead.
When I first saw Medium.com, I knew you and your brother were working on a website. I was like, God damn, they built a really nice website. I was like, this is crazy. I'm like, first thing I thought to myself, how did they get Medium.com? I'm like, that must have cost them a fortune.
Yeah, no, me and my brother, we're trying to work on a blog, but we are not Medium.com. I wish. It's a beautiful website.
I wish you were too, because if we were podcasting for Medium.com, we'd probably have more than 0 followers right now.
That is true. Hopefully we can increase that number, but if the easiest way to find it is, I'm Andy Polidor on Medium.com, and I have 2 reviews up there. Also, if you follow us, once again, 8bit Bourbon, that's our Twitter handle. We're going to retweet all of our all my reviews, which right now it's 2. I'm hoping to get an Xbox One review out there too. But this is the first time I've ever written a detailed review.
I liked it.
It was intimidating. It's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
I thought it had good flow, good format.
Because on the podcast, it's kind of stream of consciousness. We go where we want to go, and in a review, things hit me that I want to write down, and I feel like there were things missing from the major companies, just like we talked about before, in their reviews, and I wanted to focus on those things.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Did you ever feel pressured to write like other people? Because there is kind of like a set format, a set template of way people are written. Like, especially like a lot of these evolving companies, IGN's starting to change up. And one that stands out, they try to be different, is Polygon.com. Mm-hmm. They write a very specific style.
I have a 2-part answer to that. One, I do feel the need to group it like them because I think that's what people expect. For example, I have controller, hardware, software, interface, conclusion kind of stuff. But as far as how I write, I like to write how I write, and I like to It's very important to me in all of the things I write. Whether if I was writing a book, whether I'm writing an article, even something for class, and I think that I've always done well in those type of classes because I try to write how I speak, and I think you know that from my texts and my emails. Absolutely. You can hear my voice, right?
You can see in my text all the no punctuation.
I know you, so I know. Yeah,
I talk exactly the way I text.
But you know what I'm saying,
I
though.
text exactly the way I talk.
I try to have that feel to my article where you know I don't try to be unprofessional, but I like to also make jokes.
If I was to write a review, it would be one sentence. it'd be 3 pages, but it would probably be one sentence, and then your would be spelled wrong.
Yeah, well, that's another hard part about it is when editing. I hate reading back what I wrote because I see what I want to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you wrote it, the reason that there's a mistake is because you did something wrong, but you knew what you meant to say, and it's so hard to go through an 18-minute article and read every word.
Yeah, but Medium.com, you enjoyed it?
Medium.com is great. It's great. It shows stats of who's reading it, if they're completing it, things like that. And then I posted it on a couple Google groups. Andy Polidor, once again. It might be Andrew Polidor.
Yeah.
On my Google.
If you guys want to find us on social networks, probably not going to get you guys on Facebook. Our Facebook's our own thing. That's where we're gonna separate ourselves. But if you want to find us anywhere, just pretty much just search us. I'm pretty sure I'm Adam Baynard on Google+.
Yeah, if you go to 8bit Bourbon, it has our Twitter handles right there, Andy Polidor. What is your Twitter handle?
I think it's Baynard17.
Baynard17.
Just reliving those glory days of lacrosse. I can't get rid of 17. But anyways, tell me about PS4.
Well, you know what? Actually, I think
I've spent 5 hours.
I would like to get your impressions first because I own it, so I have a lot more time with it. So I'd like to hear what you have to say. With 5 hours, we played Killzone single player, and that was pretty. Resogun, which is also very cool.
My impressions are going to make me sound like an Xbox One fanboy, which I'm not.
Go ahead.
I didn't own a Wii U. I owned a Wii U for like 2 weeks, or however long it took me. Yeah, a Wii. For as long as it took me to beat Twilight Princess, and I was done. I got rid of it. I had a PS3, Xbox. I was mainly an Xbox 360 player. And everywhere you read says the Xbox One is so ugly. I actually like it. I think it's cool.
I don't mind it.
I think the PS4 is ugly.
Oh, really?
I think it's ugly.
See, I
don't like the light. I think it's distracting.
Interesting.
The games seem fine. Shadowfall is whatever. I was a big fan of Killzone 2, Killzone 3. I think everybody that plays Killzone understands what it's trying to do.
Oh, you did play Killzone multiplayer too, on a separate day. That's right.
Problem with Killzone multiplayer is that it was competing against Call of Duty.
Right.
And
I think Killzone multiplayer.
That was a Call of Duty.
I think Killzone multiplayer of all the games is very underrated.
Yes, it's very good.
It gets buried under the Call of Duties and the Halos.
And once you get over like the way Killzone plays, because it's not trying to be fast.
It almost feels like a hybrid between Gears of War and Call of Duty, where you feel very heavy, you feel very slow,
very heavy.
But that's kind of the point. That's kind of what they're going for.
From what I played with it, I enjoyed it. I haven't played much of the single player, just what we goofed around and be like, wow, this is the best graphics we've ever seen. But that's pretty much all I've seen of it. Seems fine. I know a lot of people don't really care for it, but you can expect that stuff from launch games. Like they're going to try to pimp out. They're going to make it the best looking thing they can. They don't care about stuff.
Sure,
you're not going to get like
AAA.
We're not going to get another
way
Halo
to sell
launch game. It's just not going to happen.
That's the last great launch game, if I remember correctly. I don't think someone posted an article about Xbox 360 launch games, and it was really funny because there's just nothing. I mean, it's a joke.
We'll get into that when we talk about our favorite exclusive games. But Resogun, I think Resogun's fun. I don't think it looks that good.
It's an arcade. It's got very cool particle effects.
The controller is phenomenal. I love the controller. It feels great. I shouldn't say it feels great. I don't want to be like too big because I'm an Xbox controller guy. I thought the 360 controller greatest thing I've ever held until I held Xbox One. Except with the Xbox One, I can't pull the right trigger fast. I can't. It's just when I'm using a pistol in Battlefield 4, like I can't do it.
Somehow you also, when you sprint in Battlefield 4, you shoot on accident.
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
One bullet. It doesn't matter if I'm like one bullet. But,
I don't get, but I find it very funny.
I used to play Call of Duty, and people would call me out. They say you have a modded controller. Like I'm not being cocky. Like I don't think I'm fast at anything, but I used to be able to rip like pistol shots with that thing, but I can't do it.
I mean, that's part of what you get when you don't really have a very I think it was analog in the PS3, and the Xbox 360 it was a little bit shallower possibly. Yeah. Maybe that was why you were able to pull it faster.
Yeah, I love the triggers in the new PlayStation 4 controller. I think it's great. Like if you were a PlayStation person and you thought that the PlayStation controllers were awesome, you're going to be blown away.
Well,
you're
yeah,
gonna be like, I'm an idiot.
Also, you're a liar because let's be serious. Unless you never use an Xbox controller,
strictly avoid the PlayStation because of that controller. My brother, he had a PlayStation 2 and you'd be playing San Andreas. You'd be like, this game's great. I'd pick it up and I'd crash a car 30 feet as soon as I took off because I couldn't do the analogs. They're terrible. And for a long time, if you remember, in PlayStation 2 games, they avoided using the dual analog. It just didn't. You didn't do it.
Yeah, I was not a big fan of the PS3 controller.
It was terrible. You can't aim. Like I don't understand how people would even competitively play anything on that console with those.
It would have been very interesting if you could match up servers on a game like Call of Duty where Xbox and PS4 players.
We would right.
I mean, it would be very funny.
Like I always say, obviously. PC people would destroy us
of course,
all.
Yeah.
But I think Xbox people would just wipe the floor.
While you're pouring that bourbon, why don't you go ahead and pour me one too?
But tell me more.
Okay, so I'm probably going to repeat myself from the review, but I think that's natural since those are my feelings to begin with. But let me start with the controller because I think that's the most important. I started my review with the controller, and it's the biggest upgrade by far. Now,
because the games are great. The games they look great, but if we learned anything from the last generation, we're not going to see anything until 5 years down the line, until somebody really does something.
Yeah. Well,
so now, that controller, I think that controller sells system.
When I picked up that controller, okay, let's rewind. First of all, when I saw what everyone was saying that went to the game shows and when they were holding the controller, they were saying, the Xbox One controller, very nice, very minor upgrades from the Xbox 360 controller. The PS4 controller is incredible, maybe even better than the Xbox One controller. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, of course you think that. That's because the PS3 controller was so bad. And a big part of this is people forget this. When the PS3 was announced, there was this hilarious, I believe people call it the boomerang controller, and it had handles this long.
Yeah.
But people laughed at it so badly that they never even mentioned it. They just pretended that didn't happen.
Some people think it's like a myth. Like if you go on if you Google images, people
people call it the Batarang.
Yeah, that thing's like Photoshop.
Right.
That thing never existed. It's kind of like the fat one from the original Xbox.
Yeah, but what's funny,
try to find one of those bad boys nowadays.
Right. And that controller had better ergonomics, I would argue, than the PS3 controller.
I would use that controller over anything leading up to the PS4 controller from PlayStation.
Yeah, and what's funny is I think that boomerang controller set them back in their R&D, and because I say that because
that boomerang is laughable.
Oh, it's horrible. It was really, really funny. I
almost wish it came out.
I wish that was now because like the internet is so much more brutal now. That thing would be in so many GIFs, and it would just be amazing.
You'd see if like Crocodile Dundee run around with a PlayStation 4 boomerang controller.
Exactly, or Batman throwing it at enemies. But I think as my theory is that they had put some R&D into that thing. It looked more ergonomics. It had longer handles, and I think that they had to panic and kind of scramble to get, because if you remember, the DualShock 2 and the DualShock 3 were almost identical, and it wasn't the DualShock at first. It had no rumble, and that was really funny because it's like, what do you mean you don't have rumble? Even if you don't like rumble, it's just.
And they were trying to sell you on the motion controls, and it was terrible.
And that's great, but give me my goddamn rumble. Yeah. So I think that boomerang controller was more important to them than they let on, and I think it set them back because I would argue that the PS3. Well, there's many problems I have with it. One, the analogs are too big. The biggest problem I have with it is that they're too close together. I'm a big fan of the offset of the Xbox, and you are too. Yeah. But if you like the parallel, that's fine. But they were just so close together, and on top of that, it's hard to explain. Well, the triggers were horrible too. They were basically just buttons rather than triggers. But the worst part about those analogs was they had very, to me, inconsistent pressure was required to get from the center to the outside, and it made for impossible aiming. And there was too much of a dead zone where if you move a little bit, there was nothing. In the PS4 controller, the nubs are very small, which I love. First of all, they're concave. They were convex in the PS3. Why would you think that a bubble is what you want to put your thumb on? It makes no sense.
You got to remember, they went through two different controllers before they got to the DualShock 3, the piece of shit DualShock 3. There were two of them worse before that.
And I think we will both agree, and I truly believe this is not me trying to be funny or make fun of it. I would say the Nintendo 64 and the Dreamcast, the ergonomics Just the ergonomics. The joysticks on those were pretty brutal. But the ergonomics, how it felt in your hand, were way better than the PS3. Absolutely. And the GameCube controller was way better than the PS3. Ergonomics-wise, those stubby little handles, you couldn't put your pinkies down.
The N64 controllers, it always looks so dirty. Do you ever look down where that analog thing is?
Well, because it loses paint.
Is that piece of ice
or plastic, I guess.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, you eat any kind of food, and it's cramped down
it's got
in there. And then
it's got the hexagon.
Yeah,
that's
the little
why,
stick is just smearing it all around. Yeah, it's awful.
No, that is true. But as far as the analog was terrible. But as far as ergonomics, the PS3 was like ancient. It's
terrible.
So enter the PS4. It feels amazing in your hands.
It really does.
Separating the analogs distance-wise made a huge difference. Like, I was able to jump into Killzone and immediately be competitive because I felt like I was in control, and I never felt like I was in control.
I honestly, never felt like I was playing a PS4.
Yeah, and PS3 you forgot, or you never felt like you could be competitive, right? It just and everyone felt that way, I guess. But like, I would just be, the cursor would be flying, and I really tried hard.
I could never get the hang of R2 L2 with because they were just flat.
Right, like, they were just buttons. Yeah,
exactly. How do you pull a trigger when the trigger doesn't exist?
It was a lot of games. It was very bizarre to me. You would play a shooter and it would shoot with R1, which is the weirdest thing ever, right? Because it was basically the same thing.
Also, you would aim down scope with L1.
Right. That was I don't know why that was. I guess just because they figured if there's no trigger, you might as well hit the front one. I don't know, but all that said, I love the PS4 controller. I thought the first time I put it in my hands, I said, "Wow, I was wrong." I thought that they were just overhyping it because of how bad the PS3 controller was, but that is not true. It is a tremendous controller. I love the buttons. I love the way that the triggers feel when you pull them is very smooth. The D-pad is the best in the business, not even close. And the PS3 D-pad was also the best in the business. It's very similar. That's where it has it over every other controller, including the 360 D-pad.
Yeah,
was horrible.
And I've played a Wii U, and the control's terrible. The tablet thing.
I haven't used it.
It's really hard to use. It's awkward.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd like to give it a try. Well, folks, it appears that we're a little bit more long-winded than we thought. We almost made it through one of our topics, but this is an ongoing process, and we're going to work to be better. That does it for the first episode of 8-bit Bourbon. We have a lot of people to thank. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our main sponsor, Maker's Mark, handmade Kentucky straight bourbon. Not only do they provide all of the equipment for the show,
they didn't.
But they also provide all of the bourbon for the show as well.
They also didn't do that.
We'd also like to thank our good friend Chad Johnson. Not only is the main producer of the show, but he also wrote our intro theme. And today, Chad is going to take us out with an original song by one of his many bands. They're called the Futuristics. You can find them on Facebook, Futuristics-NY. This song is called Digital Family Analog Friends. And last but not least, we'd like to thank our fans, who at the time of this recording, number 0, but we hope to grow that exponentially. You can find us on Twitter, 8bit Bourbon. You can find us on Instagram, 8bit Bourbon. If you want to send us a question or anything else, 8bitbourbon@gmail.com. And that's a wrap. I'm Andy.
I'm Adam.
And we're 8bit Bourbon.
In his skin, I need him, I need him, I need him, I need him. And glorious, screaming to shout, I got you. part of you. All I've got left is a part of you too. I've got left is a part of you.